Hey everyone, Chris from Computer Stuff here. Today we have the Kokoon or Kokoon headphones. Now what these basically are a set of sleeping headphones. They're designed to be sort of low profile and have an app that sort of enables you to track your sleep, get better sleep. That includes soundscapes, meditation stories, etc. and so forth. But at their heart and soul, what they are a fancy set of headphones that you wear when going to bed. And today what we want to find out are if these headphones are any good, if they'll help you get to sleep better, and if you should buy one yourself. Let's start off with a quick rundown on how these things work. So basically you take this little battery pack here. This is where all the goodies are. It's the Bluetooth, the battery, and all that stuff in that little module. You slip this behind your head, then you kind of just sort of wrap the earphones into your ears as such. You kind of look like a secret agent trying to protect the president from domestic terrorism. They are rather low profile. If you look there, you can see it's almost like completely flush with my ear. And they are designed like that specifically so when you rest your head on your pillow, either left or right or whatever, that it doesn't interfere. In other words, like if you had like a pair of AirPods that you use to sleep with, maybe you go to bed listening to a podcast or meditation, whatever, because they kind of stick out of your ear, they sort of hurt and put pressure on your ear. And the whole idea behind these is that because they're sort of recessed into your ear, you're not supposed to feel them as much. But let's go ahead and actually just get that out of the way here really quick. It does help. If we compare a set of AirPods to these, it is definitely flatter than the AirPod. I mean, you can see the AirPod sticking out where you can't with the Kokoon. In fact, it's almost invisible. And I would argue that it does make sleeping with it initially more comfortable. When I put my head on the pillow, it does seem to bother me a little bit less wearing these than it does an AirPod. In fact, when I wear AirPods, I always make a conscious effort to whatever ear, I only sleep with one, to whatever ear has it in there, I put the opposite side on the pillow. And that kind of disturbs you while you're sleeping because for some reason, then, or at least I wake up and then I'm always trying to make sure I'm switching out the AirPods or figuring out which side's comfortable. You get the idea. But with these, the whole idea is that you're not supposed to worry about that. And they have enough battery life. The battery life is rated about 10 hours to get you a full night's rest. The thing is, though, that I have found that there are two problems with these particular headphones. And the first one, just the microphone here, the first one is that even though they are more comfortable initially when sleeping with them, after about like hour 4, like usually at about, like if I go to bed at like 10 o'clock, usually by about like 2 to 3 in the morning, I find my ears starting to kind of ache and just sort of naturally I'm sort of brushing these things out and trying to get them off my head. This battery pack though, I'll say this, that never gets in the way. Even if you're a back sleeper and your head is just directly on a pillow, this thing is designed brilliantly. You do not notice it, you do not feel it at all. That in itself is perfect. But you do start to kind of get a little bit of like annoyance in the ear, and they say that you can size down the little earpiece there, which actually I'll get into in a moment, that will maybe help, but it just doesn't really seem to. Your ear just still feels it after a few hours, and you'll be wrestling to take these things out. Now, that will vary, I'm sure, between different users. I might just be a slightly more sensitive, lighter sleeper than others. Still, it's something that you want to keep in mind. The other thing that is a pain in the butt, and this will not vary from user to user, this is a known issue of this device, and what I would argue is a design problem, is that this little earbud, right here, so I can get the camera to focus in. It's focusing on my beautiful face. There we go. This earbud here, this thing, the sleeve, pops off. And you will notice, or you will experience, that this thing will pop off at least once a night. And then of course you're then either wrestling in the middle of the night to get this thing back on in the dark, or you just say, screw it, and then you put these things on your nightstand. That is a big design flaw and a bit of a deal breaker, I think, in some cases. Now, Kokoon says that that issue is only really prevalent when after you've worn these things for a while and sweat builds up in this thing and it kind of makes it easy for it to slip off. That is not the case. From day one, these things will fall off, and almost nightly. So yeah, that is a bit of a design problem there. If they make a second iteration of these things, I think they will need to correct that. That said, the wires, and again, the battery pack, none of that stuff ever gets in the way. That is all borderline perfect. But mileage will vary as to whether or not you will keep these things all night or whether you won't. That said, what is the reason why you would want to keep these things in all night? Well, the whole idea behind these headphones is not just if you want to listen to your own music podcast apps such as Calm, Headspace, Balance, some of these other meditation apps. It comes with an app itself, the My Kokoon app. And let's just go ahead and get out of the way right now that app is absolute garbage. It works maybe at best half the time. The statistics work almost never. You'll see here on this right headphone, there is this little red infrared thing. Maybe you can't really see it. There you go, red thing. That is a heart rate tracker. And basically what it does is it kind of like the Apple Watch or other sleep tracking devices is it's taking a reading from inside of your ear. And based on that data, it's trying to figure out if you've fallen asleep, when you've fallen asleep, how good you're sleeping, the amount of time, et cetera, and so forth. Now, it has a couple of useful factors in that. One feature you have with these headphones is you have a fade out mode where basically once the earphones detect that you have fallen asleep, you can set an allotted amount of time for your music, podcasts, whatever, to continue playing. And then what happens is that it will then fade over to some white noise, pink noise, or whatever that you set. That is a pretty cool feature because the whole idea being that if you want to fall asleep to a podcast, but you want to make sure that scientifically you stay asleep, it then kind of switches itself over to pink noise and thus helps lull you or continue your slumber. That said, I've found that never really works all that well. Either it never detects that I've actually fallen asleep or it just never kicks in. And it says that the only thing you have to do is leave the app open, which I've done plenty of times, but it just never really seems to work. And then as far as the sleep accuracy concern with the tracking, the problem is that if you take these out of your ears sometime during the middle of the evening, well, that pretty much defeats the tracking right there. And I would argue that a lot of people are gonna find themselves taking these out of their ears in the middle of the night. And the other thing, the other side of that coin is that even if you manage to keep these things in your ears the entire evening, and I've tried doing that with some tests, you'll often find that the application never syncs with the headphones and that it never really gets the data that you wanted in the first place. So the whole sleep tracking capabilities are, I don't want to say useless, but they're borderline useless. They definitely need some revamping. And I think a lot of that stuff can be done on the application level. I'm not really sure why Kokoon decided to change their application. Supposedly the previous version before I started testing it was superior, but they tried to modernize it or change it, whatever, and apparently they didn't do a very good job. So Kokoon, please fix your app. It needs some desperate attention. Some other little nice nifty things is that it comes with this sweet little carrying case here, and we found that the headphones fit in and just sort of slide in pretty easily. You can zip them right up. It's a nice way to travel with these things if you are somebody that's going from hotel to hotel or camps, whatever. If you're on the go and not in your own bedroom often. And then it does also charge via USB-C. And I have a little alarm clock where I plug in that tiny little cable. In fact, hold on a second, I'm gonna go ahead and get the cable. We'll go ahead and fix that in post. This is the cable. Now, I am lucky that I have a Philips alarm clock next to my bed that has a USB port on the side. So I plug this thing in and it charges from the alarm clock. That's pretty cool. But not a lot of people are going to have a USB port directly next to their bed. So they give you this skimpy little cable, and then they don't give you a charging a thing to plug into the wall where you then plug this into. So it's kind of like, who's charging with this thing? I don't know. But it's USB-C. Most people have USB-C charging devices these days. So that's a nice touch that they went with USB-C instead of micro USB-A or something along those lines. Do I recommend the Kokoon headphones? I like listening to a podcast or the Calm app when I go to sleep. I find that it, doing these meditations or something like this does in fact improve my sleep quality. I enjoy it a little bit more. Also, I have a little bit of tinnitus, and for that matter, we have like owls and birds and shit that hang out outside of our window. It's kind of nice to be able to drown out some of that outside noise. By the way, these do an exceptional job with drowning out excess outside noise. Not just outside your house, but if you have a partner next to you that snores, for example, you will probably not be able to hear them with these things in your ears. And actually, on that note, really quick, there is something interesting when you put these things in your ear because of the noise cancellation feature that they have a bit. There is a little bit of static when you, like a very, very like super, super low, low volume of static that just sort of naturally comes from these things. That said, the audio drivers in here are pretty good and the sound fidelity is excellent. By all accounts, I mean, you really can't improve on the sound quality almost at all with these. Very, very great. But that static, they maybe could do a little bit of a better job kind of toning that out a little bit. The AirPods are almost silent. Anyway, I don't even remember where I was. Oh yeah, so do I recommend them? You know, I think that you should buy them and try them. And if you find that they're comfortable for you and that you remain asleep with these in your ears throughout the entire evening, then I think great, keep them and you'll really, really enjoy them. I like them kind of. The problem for me is that simply during the middle of the night, they get uncomfortable and I end up taking them out, or the little earpiece falls off and I'm wrestling with that and that disrupts my sleep. So they do have some drawbacks. They're also a little bit expensive. I got these on sale for about 130 bucks, but retail they're like 200-ish and some change or whatever the price is. I'll update that in the video. So some people may not want to drop the money for these things. If you can get these things for 130 bucks or less, I think you should. They're a good deal. Do not get the subscription service. It is absolutely, absolutely not worth it, especially because you're then relying on their app, which is garbage. Go ahead and buy these things at the low price, subscribe to something like Calm, or you listen to your own meditation or podcast, whatever it is, and you'll be really, really happy there. But that said, do not waste your money with their subscription service. So yes, do I recommend them? I do. Do I think you should buy them? I also do. Luckily, they have a 30-day return policy if you are unhappy. That is the Kokoon headphones, sleeping headphones. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us in the comment section. Please like and subscribe, and we will be back with another video really soon.